Hey guys, it's day 23 of From My Closet. This is Jennifer Norman. I'm the founder of the Human Beauty Movement. It's a company that was started to look at the beauty industry and really focus more on inner beauty and wellness rather than just external beauty. And the From My Closet project is really all about me just sharing daily inspiration and spreading a little bit of joy by giving something away from my closet with every episode. I really appreciate everybody who's been tuning in lately, and there's more and more of you, so it's just nice that this seems to be catching on, and I really appreciate all of you. Today, because it's Good Friday, I thought it would be interesting to talk about the topic of sacrifice. Now, I know a lot of my Lenten Roman Catholic friends have been giving up carbs and alcohol and ramen and all these wonderful things for the past 40 days. And soon the lights at the end of the tunnel, you'll be able to enjoy all of those things once again. But interestingly enough, I am thinking about sacrifice in a couple of different ways. I think that there is a healthy and a positive way of looking at sacrifice, and then there's probably the flip side of it, which may not be so healthy and positive. So I thought I would spend a little bit of time talking about that with you. Now, about 10 years ago, I moved into this house and I renovated it and had a bunch of tile work done. You can see all this tile that I have here in my master bathroom. And the tile man had two sons with him, one older one who was working with him and a younger one who was about 10 years old, who was pretty much there kind of entertaining himself and hanging out with his dad and his brother while they worked. And there was this one particular day when the younger son came in and he had a big box of his toys to keep him occupied. A bunch of Star Wars toys. You could tell that the little boy was a fan of Star Wars. And then, lo and behold, in rolls my son Kyle with his nurse in his wheelchair. And at the time, Kyle was probably about 5 years old. He was a little bit more able-bodied than he is presently. But it really stopped this young boy in his tracks and made him, really think about what he was doing with his toys and the fact that my son really couldn't play with toys or the fact that he was, in the position that he was. And it filled this little boy's heart with such compassion that he took his whole bunch of his favorite toys and he pushed them over to my son and he said, "Here, I want you to have these." And I said to him, "That's not necessary. You don't have to give away your toys. It's really sweet of you, but you don't have to do that." And he looked at me and he said, "Everybody in this world deserves a little joy." And he really wanted to do it, and I just thought that that was so sweet. You could tell that this little boy's heart was, so innocently filled with love and kindness and compassion that I actually turned to his father and I said, "You're doing something right. You're raising some really good kids here." And I really, really appreciated, just being able to see such kindness from young kids. And I've seen that more and more as time has gone on too. And so I think that that is a good example of when compassion and sacrifice starts from a place of love, which is wonderful and where it should be. But on the flip side, there is sacrifice that is started from an unhealthier place, and that could be a place of what I would consider martyrdom. Now, martyrs suffer from what is called the Crucifixion Complex. So these are people who are bound at the arms, bound at the feet. They're completely powerless. They feel out of control, and that they're kind of lashing out in their sacrifice in an unhealthy way. So what do I mean by that? Essentially, what happens is if a person goes into a sacrifice and then feels bitterness or anger or blame or resentment, and then starts to kind of feed that out into the world due to the fact that they're in the situation that they're in, well, that's not something that I think is going to be conducive to a better outcome in the future. So for example, you'll see a lot of parents. It's a great, if we look at a lot of parents, there are some wonderful parents out there who sacrifice so much for their kids. They may decide to quit their jobs, change their careers because they want to spend more time with their kids, or they want to be able to support their child and take them to that sport lesson or take them to that music lesson, let them have these extracurricular activities, things that will help benefit the child in the long run and after the fact. And then you kind of see those parents that don't really act in that way, and they feel that they're, playing the martyr by sacrificing. Look what I gave up for you. Look at the life that I could have had, but I don't have it because, I have to take care of you. Well, think about the kind of dynamic that creates, that toxicity that happens within the family environment when there is that kind of an attitude. It's not good for the person. They're eating themselves up inside. It's not good for the children. There's all sorts of guilt, and they grow up with feeling bad about themselves and the fact that they had to put their parents in this kind of position, all in the name of love. But, it's not necessarily done in the best way with the purest of intents. And so I thought that it was just a good idea for us all to think back about the sacrifices that we're making, especially now. The interesting thing is I live in Los Angeles County, and when we went into the Safer at Home order, Mayor Garcetti actually said, this is an act of love. He made an explicit point during his speech in announcing it, that this was an act of love, not an act of fear, not an act of overprotection, for example, and whatnot, but he made sure that people knew that this was a sacrifice that we would all have to make now so that we would be in a better position afterwards going forward. And I really felt warmth coming from that message. I hope that a lot of other people did too. I think that when Cuomo made that same statement in New York, there were a lot of people that really revered his position and felt that he was doing the honorable thing. But for those that are taking this and turning it into something which is more about blame or sacrifice in the fact that it's a sense of loss, it's there are things that we should have been able to do beforehand in order to prevent all of this, all these kinds of excuses and all these kinds of stories. It doesn't create an environment where good things can come afterwards. So I really encourage everybody to kind of think about how they're talking about this situation to their kids, what kind of sacrifices everybody is making at this time, because we're all in a sacrifice together. And hopefully afterwards we'll all be, out in the sunshine with each other, celebrating more physical closeness than we currently are. And it will all be, it'll all be sunlight from there. So at any rate, with that, I'm going to turn it over to the giveaway. I actually grabbed it from my closet earlier, so it's right here. And this is actually a Gucci bag that's inside this Gucci bag. It's, I will say, very, very well used. And so this is for somebody who doesn't mind something that is really in very, very used condition. But it's still got a little life in it, so I thought that it'd be nice to give it to somebody in case anybody's interested in it. So it's a satchel, looks like this. And you can see how worn it is. It's definitely got signs of wear on both sides of it. But it does have leather embellishments. It's got a little bit of hardware. It's certainly super roomy inside. And so yeah, this is for the first person who raises their hand and gives me that shipping address. You could be in the running to receive this. It's completely free. All shipping is also included. And there was the question about whether or not I ship internationally, and absolutely. There have been a few people who have gotten gifts from me that have gone overseas. So hopefully you guys are going to have a wonderful weekend. I'm really, again, so happy that I can spend this time with you. We're in the home stretch. I have a week left. And then afterwards, we'll see what happens, right? Anyway, until tomorrow, I will see you then.